All right. Hello, everybody. And I just wanted to be able to record today's lesson for those that are going to be absent or things like that. And if I'm looking away from the camera, it's because I'm looking at notes to make sure I don't forget anything. And I just want to be able to say to you that you've gone through a lot so far, and it's only been roughly a month, probably like 3.5 weeks of school or so. So if you're looking at the display on the screen, it has the wellness wheel that I developed. And I don't mean I made it up because it's all over the place. And the references to this that I gave on our website is a Google search to wellness wheel. And I also put the wellness wheels of Duquesne, um, Clarion, and I don't know, someplace else, another university on the page. And wellness always includes the physical, intellectual, social, emotional, and spiritual sections of yourself. So that's a key word, is yourself. And sometimes they include other things like financial or environmental or occupational health or things like that. And we talked about how in order to have wellness, you have to live optimally to the best that you can in each of the areas. We defined each of the 5 areas as physical equaling the body, intellectual equaling the mind, social equaling your group interactions, emotional including coping mechanisms and stress management and dealing with feelings and expressions, and spiritual meaning your values and beliefs, what is right and wrong in a different situation. We further broke down that section by saying that all of your influences and personal experiences create a worldview. That worldview causes you to have beliefs. Those beliefs are your assumptions of what is true and what should happen in the world. That causes you to have values. So what's important to you and not important to you, and that leads to behaviors. Your behaviors can also be defined as actions, either internal or external. And along with those actions, there's always consequences. You can also use the word results. You can also use the word outcomes, because consequences is always negative in our head. But so an outcome is always there. And that outcome or consequence can be positive or negative. And those positive or negative consequences and outcomes can lead to your relationships increasing or decreasing. So we went through all of that. Then when we were well, also during that time, we were talking about what are the key things that you can do. And we talked about the 5 main things that the CDC says you can do to add years to your life, and the 14 things that people can do to generally live optimally in all areas of Pisces. Then we studied the teen brain a little bit. We didn't do a ton of it. A lot of it was supposed to be asynchronous. So some of you didn't do it, but that's okay, because you got the main points still. And we talked about how the brain is this remarkable organ, and we examined things inside the teen brain, what makes that different. And we really talked about the importance of sleep. And there was an assignment where you're supposed to watch these 2 videos about what the importance of sleep was. And, I'm going to make this easier. I'm going to use my laser pointer. What these things of sleep was. And then an asynchronous optional activity was to look at addiction. And some of you chose to do that. It was a constructed response prompt question that you could have looked into. A lot of you did do that. So if you did it, we talked about how addiction is usually it's physical, but it doesn't have to be physical. It can sometimes be psychological, but it always involves a chemical reaction within the brain. And you can watch any of these videos posted from experts on YouTube that are not me to be able to explain that. And then we also looked about how sugar is one of the most addicting things in the United States. And some people had asked me questions, and we referenced gambling as a psychological addiction, for example. Then we talked about choices and decisions, and I made you a lesson video in case you missed that class, where you asynchronously worked on watching me talk about decisions and choices. And the sum up of it is that the frontal part of your brain is not fully developed yet. So sometimes you make emotional decisions without using logic, unless you purposely stop yourself before making decisions to be able to make that plan with logic. So you went on and did that, and we talked about, and I basically said, it's your fault. It's your fault when you make a decision. And it's not your fault if somebody else does something that ends up hurting you, even if you made a decision that sort of got you there, but then you thought it was going to be safe, and then they go and do something to harm you. That's not your fault necessarily. Most of the time it isn't. But if you make a conscious decision that you're putting yourself at risk to do something, and you do it, then it's your fault. So you get in trouble for doing something because you get caught, it's your fault. You can't push the blame on. You can't say that so and so made me do this or whatever. You ultimately made that decision. And then we gave you some decision models that are popular on the internet, and we just talked about them. I didn't make any of these up, so there you go. And how you, well, I made this slide, but obviously a pro-con T-chart is not new. And if you watch the milk video, I also looked at this thing down here, and we talked about how you have self-worth no matter what. And right after we did that, we went on to talk about self. And the first big question was, who am I? And we went through the website about who am I and what it is that means for you. And we started a slideshow without going through the whole slideshow that defined 3 words: self-esteem, self-concept, and self-image. And essentially, self-esteem was how high or low you think about yourself, and self-concept was how you think about yourself compared to what others think about you. And then self-image was what you think others think about you. So it's your assumptions, your guesses. You don't ever ask. You don't ever really try to find out. So the best thing to think about here is self-concept, because there's arguments in the psychological world that sometimes self-esteem is the most important thing. And then there's other articles and arguments that say that self-esteem is, there's no such thing, it's made up. But self-concept is absolutely 100% true. How you think about yourself compared to how others think about you. And self-image is also 100% true, no matter what you think others think about you. If you want to know my opinion about self-esteem, I do think that it exists, but I think that self-concept and self-image are the more topics that you need to really focus on, because if you have healthy sense of self-concept and a realistic, healthy sense of self-image, you'll be able to have healthy self-esteem, not too high, not too low. After that, we looked at attitude and outlook, and I basically gave you an answer to the question, is the glass half full or glass half empty? Along with that, I told you that I didn't come up with the answer, that my grandfather told me that the answer to that question, and I kept saying how I thought it was genius. And some of you agreed, and some of you were like, oh no, I heard that before. So then we talked about, we looked at some optical illusions, and basically we're talking how they relate to health in terms of your outlook, your perception, what you perceive, what you see can oftentimes determine your actions after that. And sometimes 2 people can look at the same thing and have a completely different outlook in that situation. Along with that, I showed you a video about this little, an image about this little kitten looking like a lion. And I had you watch a video called The 2 Wolves. That was a Native American tale. And The 2 Wolves basically is a similar thing to the cup, where which wolf are you feeding, the good wolf or the evil wolf? And that's what's going to end up happening. And the evil wolf is not evil per se, like in Star Wars, the dark side evil, or like a horror flick or something like that. Evil in this case is just talking about the negative characteristics that some people dwell on, that when somebody looks at you and your character, they would look at and they would deem as negative. Okay. After that, we went and talked one day about body image. We could have spent a week on this, but I didn't want to dwell. You've all heard things about this before. Social media has positive topics. And the main thing was, why not how does body image affect your sense of self? And we basically said, because it's easier to judge yourself based on what you see as opposed to how you act internally. And that was the short version of the explanation. And we talked about how you can have a negative body image but have a positive self-image, but so many people find that difficult and they dwell on it, which, case in point, you basically get into your own way. I also showed you these 2 images and read this poem Pretty Ugly backwards. So if you have an opportunity, look that up on Google or go to our website and read that backwards. It's so motivating as opposed to reading it forward. And some of us just have to look at a situation a different way. And in between those things, we also talked a lot about personality. And personality, in this case, it's sort of the same thing as character. It's what people see when based on your actions, based on how you talk, based on how you walk, based on how you handle yourself, based on how you show it. And it comes out because of a ton of different influences in our life, starting at birth, some of them physical and genetic, some of them environmental in terms of people and places and things you've learned from, and some of them intrinsic. So you sort of learned it, but you don't know how you've learned it. And you've started acting certain ways because you're modeling yourself off of these things. A lot of it can also be based on culture or race or family traditions and things. So your personality that comes out. And we gave you the free version of Don Larry's True Colors personality test, which I really love. And I kept saying that the real one is $50 and you should ask, if you want to do it, you should not pay for it, but you should ask somebody to get that for you for your birthday or another holiday. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And then we gave you access to professional made videos that are posted on YouTube by other people about what this means. Then we related the true colors to the Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. And that comes down to basically where we're at today. You are always going to have this idea about who you are compared to the situation that you're in. And I just want to point out to you that when you're thinking about the multiple intelligences, you have to recognize that a healthy sense of yourself is understanding who you are. So if you go back to all of that stuff that I just said in the beginning of this video, all of our lessons, so to speak, then you'll see that it's not about having high or low self-esteem. It's about having a healthy sense of self overall. And along with that, it's like, what kind of personality do you have? What kind of character do you have? What are your behavior traits some people would say are positive? What are your behavior traits that some people would say are negative? If you understand your personality and you understand your multiple intelligences, then you'll understand what your strengths and weaknesses are. You'll be able to focus on your strengths. You'll be able to overcome your weaknesses. And in some cases, you're going to have to say, yeah, I'm not as good as someone else in this thing, but I'm going to try and improve and make myself the best that I can in this situation. So in short, you sort of know what to work on, okay? So when you know your multiple intelligences and you know your personality and you know your sense of self and you understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, that allows you to start working on things and understand who you are as a person living in this world and in society. So basically, and generally speaking, are you me-centered or are you we-centered, right? Do you put others first often or only think of yourself? Are we okay alone or do we need, I didn't say want because everybody wants sometimes. Are we okay being alone sometimes or do we need to be in groups? Do you need to be in a relationship or are you okay if you wait until the right person comes along? Are we shy? Are we quiet? Are we introverted? Are we loud? Are we outgoing? Do we give into pressure easily and what others want to do? Or do we always want to get our way? Are we in harmony if somebody else is a leader and we get to follow, but we make good choices when they want us to follow into a path of like something that is wrong, a path of darkness, so to speak? If we blindly lead them, then that's a problem. But if we want to lead, then that's not necessarily a bad thing. Are we active? Are we lazy? Are we not lazy, but we're pretty much sedentary? Are we emotional? Are we logical? Are we strategic? How do we make decisions? Are we creative, or do we need a starting point? Are we independent? Are we interdependent? Are we able to look at the abstract and create, or do we think mainly in concrete? A lot of assumptions are made about you because you go to an art school that you can all think abstractly all the time. But a lot of you need that one concrete starting point to be able to get your own mind creative, to be able to do things. That's nothing wrong with that, but you need to recognize that. How does knowing this make you more productive? Does it make you a better person? Does it make you a better partner? In reality, we should have all of the colors in the personality. We should have all of the multiple intelligences. but they're going to be different levels for each of us. And we're going to lean towards some of them more heavily. And along with that, there's going to be times with your self-concept and self-esteem that you're not going to be viewed the same way that you view yourself. And it's your job to decide whether to accept that view from other people and embrace it, accept that view from other people and make changes, or accept that view from other people and be like, no, I like how I am like this. I'm not going to change. I don't care what you think or say. It's up to you to decide when that's important. You can get people to help you with that. You can get me. You can get another trusted teacher. You can get a mentor, a parent, an older sibling, a favorite aunt or uncle, a grandparent, a counselor or a therapist or a coach. You can get people to help you make those decisions. But if you're only relying on your peers, then maybe they're the ones that are wrong. I don't know. You have to make that decision. Before we end, I just want to say a couple practical things, but I also want to tell you to do something. Right now, raise your hand up in the air as high as you can. Now raise it higher. All right, you all just did something that you think you couldn't do because I said raise it as high as you can. You raised it, and then I said raise it higher, and you all did. You all did. So don't ever let somebody tell you that you can't do something. And don't ever say the words, I can't myself. Now, it might be that you can't do it well. It might be that you can't do it as well as somebody else. It might be that you don't want to do it. It might be that you're scared to do it. But it's not that I can't. There is no such thing as I can't. And even then, the words I can't means maybe, right? So, and that's okay if there's some things you can't actually do that well. Like I can go and play the drums, but none of you are going to like the way that it sounds usually. I think I'm keeping a beat, but once other instruments are around me, I get distracted. I can't do it. I can't read music. I could probably learn if I really tried hard, but you know, I don't want to. So we have to understand what I can't means. There's certain things you absolutely can't do, like fly, unless you get in a plane. So you have to think about the things and be able to do what you can do. So what are some really simple truths? Let me display the screen again for you. And where's my thingy? I just lost it. Let me display the screen again for you real quick. Some really simple truths that can be able to help you. First, you can do positive self-talk. Stop the negative. You can do that in a mirror. You can write yourself notes. You can do things like that, and you can just be positive. You know, you can be simple positive, like be the best you can, or you can put, and you can do it and stuff like that, but you can also go and write little positive notes and things that are constructive, like don't forget to do this when you, like for instance, we were talking culturally how you have to say hello to the elders, the grandparents and the aunts and stuff in certain cultures. So maybe you write a little note, don't forget to say hi to, you know, just give that positive little feedback so you don't forget to do something. Not a bad idea to do that for other people too every once in a while. Leave a note in their backpack, leave a note in their locker, send them a quick private little message on social media and DM them and say, yo, I was just thinking about you. You know, you be awesome today. So that would be a great thing to do. Remember that everyone is good at something. I've already said it, but you got to remember it. Focus on your strengths, improve your weaknesses, okay? Accept compliments. Some people have a hard time accepting compliments. I talked to you about how I have a hard time accepting compliments sometimes. So there you go. Be realistic, but don't give up on your dreams. So you don't want to shoot so high that you're like, you just can't get there. So you want to be realistic and give yourself both a combination of short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals, but you don't want to give up on your dreams. Along with not giving up on your dreams, maybe you want to be a professional basketball player and you're just not good enough to be a professional basketball player. So maybe you can get into basketball a different way. Maybe you can be an athletic trainer. Maybe you can be an equipment manager. Maybe you can be a statistics analyst. Maybe you can work in the front office in some way, selling tickets or something like that for a basketball team. Maybe you want to be a world-class singer, but you know that if you, somebody has told you, you know, you're a great singer and I love that you love singing, but, you know, I don't know if you're going to be good enough to be discovered and be a professional. Don't give up on your dreams. First of all, keep doing it. Keep doing it for fun. Try to get the best that you can. And once you realize that you got to the best that you can possibly get, do something else. Get into producing. get into directing, get into music videos, get into backstage things like sound and lighting for music, for artists and for concerts. Get involved in the music industry. Maybe just be able to become a DJ. Maybe you can do whatever you can do, but don't give up on your dream, but you might have to alter it. So be realistic. Moving forward, real quick, find positive friends and role models. Find something positive that's satisfying to you. Get to the root causes of what's causing the issue. Don't just dwell on the negative. Why am I stressed? What is the problem that's causing me to feel this way? Figure it out and then solve it positively. Positively. Our next section is about dealing with emotions, feelings, and stress management. So we'll give you some ideas to help you with that. Evaluate for real how others see you. Don't just assume. Identify you and be true. Practice being the you want to be. And most importantly, and above all, be the best you can be. I highly recommend Nike's commercial that was created for Kobe Bryant on August 23rd, 2020. It's called Mamba Forever. You can find a link to it on our website. I'm not playing it here because of copyright, but you may want to check that out. With no further ado, thank you so much for joining us, and you have a great rest of your day.